Hello everyone, and welcome to Adventure Materials. We are just starting up a new Let's Play series playing Ironsworn Dungeons & Dragons. That's right, we are going to be playing a two-character game of Dungeons & Dragons themed adventuring using the Ironsworn rules and the Ruins of the Undercity dungeon generator. So this is going to be a little different than most Ironsworn games in that it's going to have a heavy pull on, or a heavy focus on dungeon crawling and city adventuring. And we're going to be playing a two-character party. And we're going to be using the Iron Journal app, visible on this side of the screen, to represent both characters. So to start, I'm going to describe our characters. We have Cormac the Cryptic. Now, as all Ironsworn characters, he starts with 2 momentum, 5 health, 5 spirit, and 5 supply, although this supply will be shared between both characters. And he has 2 edge, 1 heart, 1 iron, 2 shadow, 3 wits. Now, he's our sorcerer, a magic user, so 3 wits seems like it should be obvious. But his 2 shadow and 2 edge maybe aren't as obvious. So, Ironsworn does not have a system for standard Dungeons & Dragons style magic attacks. So what I'll be doing instead is representing edge to represent Cormac's ability to use magic effectively at range. So this will be, your magic missile spell, perhaps a sleep spell in combat if it comes up, darts or throwing daggers, things of that sort. His heart, quite low. He's a kind of a taciturn, withdrawn mage, kind of your archetypal wizard character. His iron is also low. Cormac is not going to be getting in the thick of it at any time if he can help it. He's got a dagger, and that's pretty much it. He's frail, as a magic user usually is. He's got 2 shadow. Now, this one is not quite as straightforward as edge, where it just represents magic. It also represents his ability to lie when it benefits him, or conceal the truth, or even perhaps tell half-truths to get people to do what he wants. But it can also represent his ability to use silencing spells and things like that to get away. And then he's got 3 wits, which represents his intelligence and ability to, do general assorted magic things outside of combat. For assets, he has Invoke, which is his primary spell, and this allows him to roll wits and gain Invoke Essence here, which he can use to create mystical effects or illusions, and then generate momentum from that. And so that's going to represent small cantrips and things like that. So this is another way of representing Dungeons & Dragons style magic in Ironsworn. He's got Lore Keeper. That should be obvious. He knows a lot of stuff, and it's going to come in handy in the dungeon. And finally, he has Alchemist. This is a fun one. Level 1 magic users in old school Dungeons & Dragons can't usually make potions and things like that. But these characters are, since Ironsworn levels don't directly translate to Dungeons & Dragons levels, I felt like it would be fine, and it gives him a cool edge for having the ability to power up his partner or himself, as the case may be. Alright, and that brings us to second to last, his gear. He's got a dagger, spellbook, lantern and oil, scroll case, paper, ink, and pen. So he's pretty much, he's lightly burdened. He's got a dagger for when his magic fails, and he's got a spellbook, but that's pretty much it. Finally, a Ironsworn character is supposed to start with 3 bonds and a background vow, which represents kind of their driving desire in the world. Because this is a Dungeons & Dragons game that we're going to be playing, I'm not going to generate the background vow. Their desire is to delve the depths of this dungeon, the Undercity. And so I might, we'll put the vow in, but it's really not that essential. So let's clear the Undercity. So this is epic, but I might end up changing this. That's just kind of what we're going for. And the Undercity, I am going to actually generate a massive delve for it. So I'm going to track progress that way, as well as using a map generator. But we're going to be focused more on small session or 2-session goals rather than a gigantic one. with the background assumption being that we are adventuring in and around the city and the ruins beneath it. And then bonds I will describe later. I'm going to save them and develop them as time goes on. We're starting off right in the dungeon, and I think the bonds will come into play better after a session or two when the characters come back up for air to sojourn in the city, things like that. Alright, so let's go over the second character then. That is our wizard, and then we also have a knight. Pemba the Knight. These names were randomly generated Ironsworn names. Future names are probably going to be generated using the Holmesian random name generator, which creates names that sound a lot like early basic Dungeons & Dragons character names. So Pemba the Knight is kind of an archetypal paladin, almost stereotypical paladin. She's got 2 edge. She's got quick reflexes. She's decent with a bow, her crossbow, and just general good hand-eye coordination. She's also got, a powerful heart, so she can run really far, things like that. And then for actual heart, which doesn't represent real heart, but courage and personality, she's at 3. So this was representing having a high charisma. So she is a attractive woman. She's good with people. She's courageous. All of those things. So, and her iron is only 2. Normally, an Ironsworn, a melee character might have 3 iron, but because she's a woman who I feel like is powerful. She's certainly stronger than the sorcerer, but she is not like a Conan style character who would deserve an iron 3. Instead, her strength more lies on the true knight side of it, chivalry, being able to go into battle and then sacrifice herself or fight well on the defense of someone that she's adventuring with, all of which I think is represented better by heart. And then 1 shadow, 1 wits. Shadow, she's not sneaky at all. There's nothing to say there. Wits, she's not dumb, but she's not logic and like analyzing book lore and things are not really her strong suit. Instead, she's got more of the emotional intelligence represented by her 3 heart. Her gear is a longsword, shield, crossbow and bolts, plate armor. So she's equipped for battle. Alright. And then for her assets, she's got ironclad, which represents her plate armor, and she is geared for war. So I need to mark encumbered. So her momentum stays at 2, but the maximum is now 10 or 9 instead of 10, and the reset is 1. But in exchange, she's going to be much better at enduring harm, which will come in handy when we're in fights. Next, she's got shield bearer, which she can use her shield to face danger, which I plan on using a lot when I'm not in a good spot. When I'm not in control or I don't have initiative in combat. So she'll be blocking, tanking these enemies to try to get control again, so that she can use her loyalist ability to aid her ally. So she's going to be throwing herself in the way of foes, blocking when she can or when she has to, and leaving our sorcerer, Cormac here, leaving him the ability to fight back. Let's see. Oop. There we go. Okay, so like the other character, like Cormac, Pemba does not have any background bonds yet. I will be developing those as we go, as the story kind of evolves. So, with that said, those are our characters, and we are going to, I guess next we'll describe our dungeon. These 2 characters, Pemba and Cormac, have come to the City of Spires. It's a city on the coast of a bay. It's hot, desert. Think Arabian or Middle Eastern style, minarets everywhere and tall, twisting, white spires standing above yellow sand. And they have come to this city after, what seems like weeks or months on a caravan. The City of Spires is famous world over for its learning, which is what draws Cormac, and the music and culture and locations for adventure. It is famed for having ruins beneath it. Not a dungeon per se. I mean, there is a dungeon underneath, but it's not famed for that so much as the City of Spires is called Spires because it's built up, and as they build these spires, the city beneath it is slowly buried. And this has happened over hundreds or thousands of years. You know, as the bay rises or bay falls, people build up and then build down, and they build levees on the side of it. And so the city now is sitting on an untold number of underground cellars and interconnected streets that have now been paved over and built over. And so no one quite knows how much stuff is underground here. So anyone who's looking for adventure certainly must consider coming to the City of Spires if they can afford to make the trip. And so our two characters, Pemba and Cormac, have made the trip, and they have found themselves at an inn. And I don't really have a dedicated name for that inn yet, so let's just roll up a couple of Oracle results here and see if anything strikes me. Inspect community. Okay, so inspecting community, we'll call it the Lamplighter. It sounds good from that. So they're at the Lamplighter Inn, which is it's not down market, but it's comfortably middle class of an inn. You know, merchants and caravans stop by. Not their richest caravans, but certainly any moderately successful trader who runs a regular route, and maybe his most established guards would sleep here. And so Pemba and Cormac arrive, and they take up rooms, and it quickly becomes clear, or they quickly make clear to everyone that they are adventurers and they're looking for work. And I think what we need to do now is gather information to see if we can find any clues about the dungeon. So let's start doing that. So our gather information move rolls wits. So we don't have any bonds yet, at least none that we're aware of. But let's have the wizard ask. Cormac has the higher wits, so he's going to ask around. So let's see. So we'll click on wits, so it rolls our +3, and then we roll. A weak hit, so our action die was 5, +3 is an 8, versus a 3 and a 9. So when we get a weak hit with gathering information, something complicates our quest or introduces a new danger, but we get to take +1 momentum. Okay. Let's see. I probably should have used Lorekeeper here because I'm trying to gather information about the dungeon, but we'll call it. It's too late for that, and it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Okay, so we find some information. So yes, there is a entrance to the Undercity, and it's not too far away. It's in the basement of a nearby shop, and the owner, the shopkeeper, will allow people to use it in exchange for coins. So I do have to pay, which in this game we don't have real currency, so it should be okay. It's just going to mean I'm going to have to role play that I won't be able to take too many in and out trips unless I'm finding significant treasure. So it's just going to, I think for the first round or two, first session or two, I'm going to have to push my luck a little farther than I might have liked to. Okay, so I've got an entrance, but it's quite pricey to get inside, and the last few adventurers that have gone in that way have not come out, so it's possible that there's something dangerous in the area. Okay, and now what we're going to do, now that we know where we're going to spend a day to prepare ourselves. So first, I'm going to invoke to gather information, but I think to do this, it might be worth securing an advantage. I'm going to take a secured advantage to find a strong, a magical library or a quiet spot where I can study my spells. So let's roll wits. Another weak hit, so I get +1 momentum. So there is a mystical library here where magic users can come to study spells and work, but it's more of a guild system, and they don't allow outside sorcerers to use their facilities or to work with them until they've proven themselves and have paid to join the guild. So instead, Cormac takes his private rooms and he's able to shut the door, and he closes, he pushes a bunch of sheets and things under the door to give himself some peace and quiet, and he's able to study those. And so let's roll wits for our invoke. Strong hit. Nice. Okay, so on a strong hit, add the value of my action die to my essence track. Only 2. What a bummer. Okay. And then so later I can secure an advantage or face danger using essence to create mystical or minor illusions. So it just gives me an advantage, a more powerful secure an advantage, because it allows me to use the essence and I get extra momentum. Okay. So then what will Pembra do? Pemba. I'm going to change her name to Pembra. That's easier to say. What will Pembra do while Cormac is studying? How will she secure an advantage? I think that maybe finding a guide would be something worth doing. So I'm going to secure an advantage to see if I can find anyone who'd be willing to come with me. A hireling. That's pretty classic Dungeons and Dragons. So let's roll heart. Miss with a match. Yikes. On a miss, you fail or your assumptions betray you. Pay the price. Okay. So she looks around. She spends some time in the tavern asking people, if anyone's interested. And a couple of people, put out some feelers to see if it'd be right. And she buys them a few drinks, but in general, it just ends up being a waste of time. And no one, as soon as people finally find out that she doesn't have any experience in the dungeon, nobody really wants to gamble on going with them. And so I think I'm going to pay the price of losing a point of, I want to say momentum or supply. I wasn't able to hire anyone, so I don't know if I need to actually spend money. So I'm going to lose momentum. Or actually, no, I won't lose momentum. I will just say the price I've paid is that, the assumptions betray me. It's not going to be easy to find anyone to hire to go in. So if I was hoping to do this again, unless we come up with some serious proof that we know what we're doing, we're unlikely to find anybody to come along with us. So with that, I think it's time to start adventuring. Let's see. All right. So this is the starting room that I rolled using the Ruins of the Undercity kit. And I am going to roll using that system to draw out the dungeon. And so the characters, the morning comes and Pembra and Cormac ready themselves, and they test their gear and they step out into the morning, and it's already hot. And they make their way through the city and they find the shop that the tavern keeper told them about. And they tell the man that they're interested in going into his basement. And he asks them for a gold piece or 2 each. And then he steps to the back and he goes down into the basement. And there's a sturdy iron-bounded door built into the basement wall. And there's like 3 locks on it, heavy-duty locks, and a locking bar on his side of it. He undoes the bar and all 3 of the locks. And he reminds the people that to get out, they're going to need to give a secret code, or maybe secret code and a bell. That's it. So there's a thin wire that runs from the inside of the door to a bell hanging just over it in the basement. He says, when you're ready to leave, ring that bell. And he says, give it, a pattern like this. And he goes, ding, ding, dong, or something like that. It's a noticeable pattern, just so it's not a random monster bumping up against it. So they nod, they remember the pattern, and Cormac lifts up his lantern and he lights it. And then the 2 of them step through the door onto a spiral, or not spiral staircase, just a steep staircase that descends down through roughly cut stone, and then eventually it emerges here into a wide tunnel that progresses forward and then leads off into the darkness ahead. And to the right, the tunnel extends again, and so they follow it. They follow it east until they emerge into a large underground cavern. Or, I'm sorry, a large underground room, not a cavern. as like a cellar room. And let's see what's here. Let's get some descriptions. Sometimes I will be rolling on the Ironsworn oracles, and sometimes I'll be rolling using the Mythic GM emulator oracles, which I feel like generate word combinations that work a little bit better for my own imagination. But let's give Ironsworn a test first. Strengthen land. Okay, well, what could that be? The room is built of worked stone, but the walls, like spaced across them, are heavy wooden beams, and these beams rise up to the ceiling that's about 10 feet overhead, and are supporting a sagging roof. So whatever is above this building is kind of threatening to cave in, which doesn't make anybody feel good. Now let's see if I can draw a little thing here. Okay, I think this is how I shorten up the thing. Yep, excuse me. All right, hold on. Okay, there we go. I shortened the snap here so we can give ourselves some narrow pillars. And then that should be able to delete. Okay. And then we'll do another pillar there. All right. And then let's say this last one has fallen down. Which is not something that any of these people want to see. There we go. Okay. All right. So we have got the start of our walls here. Our first section. It's these big wooden posts are holding up a sagging ceiling, but in one corner the post has broken and splintered and fallen down. And so Cormac and Pembra now have to choose. They could go north through the this tunnel, or they could continue east through this shuttered door. And I think I'm going to have them head north into the tunnel. But before I do, it's time to actually create this dungeon using our Ironsworn tools. So we aren't going to have this set here in the Ironlands, but using the Ironsworn tools, this is the best way to create an actual trackable dungeon. So I'm just going to create a random location here, and I will add a delve site here. So let's go to delve, we'll create a site. And so this is going to be an underkeep, which is a dungeon. And then for theme, let's see, ancient, corrupted, fortified, hallowed, haunted, infested, ravaged, or wild. I think infested is maybe best for the top layer, and we'll see how things go after that. So we're going to say the Undercity. Okay. And for now, we'll just put this, this is kind of the bay that I was talking about, so we'll put it right here. We'll make that a location, 3754, and we'll put it right there. So the Undercity, right there, 3754, on this long inlet of a bay. But just a reminder, the Ironlands map is just built into the Iron Journal. This game does not take place in the standard Ironlands situation or universe. Okay, we'll make that empty. Okay, we'll make this empty as well. Okay, so now we've got our dungeon, the Undercity, and we're going to make this an epic dungeon. This is going to be a campaign level dungeon where we're not going to be able to beat it for a long time. I don't expect to fully beat the dungeon with this game, but rather it's going to be more a goal of finding vows that can take me part of the way in and trying over and over again until we eventually are able to clear the entire dungeon. And if we do, I think that will be an epic quest if we're able to fully complete it. Okay, so let's see. So we've got our dungeon, our infested underkeep, and we have no vows, so we need to decide what our goal is for this first quest. What will we count as being something successful? I think maybe finding, obviously we want treasure, but is finding treasure alone enough to be our first goal? Let's turn a little roughness of the line there. Or do we need to work on finding stairs first, and treasure will come as it does? So I think that possibly finding a treasure will be our first goal, because first of all, we need to make enough money to pay back this expedition since we have to keep renting it, and we want to make a name for ourselves so we can eventually find some hirelings. So let's assign or swear an iron vow. We'll use heart. So Pembra is going to roll. She's got the higher heart. And I think she's the one who's going to be driving the progress. Cormac is a sorcerer. He's curious, but I think he'd be just as happy to spend some time in the Mage's Tower as down in this dungeon. So let's have her roll, and we're going to swear an iron vow to find a famous treasure. Find a treasure enough to make a name for ourselves, at least a small name, on the first level of the Undercity. A weak hit. Okay, and so I believe that means we gain one momentum. But let's see. Swear an iron vow. On a weak hit, you're determined to begin your quest, but begin a request with more questions than answers. Take +1 momentum and envision what we have to do. Okay, so she gets +1 momentum, and we have this dangerous vow. Find a treasure to make our name, make our reputations. All right. So we now have this vow, and it's our goal to delve this dungeon until we can find a treasure good enough to make it worth calling home, or writing home about. Okay, so let us begin to explore. So for our first move, I think we're going to be moving quietly. I think shadow is appropriate. So I think Cormac here will be rolling. He's sneakier. And I don't think that means necessarily that he's going to be like actually sneaking ahead, but rather he's going to be using his knowledge of, where things are, his listening skills and stuff like that to kind of slow the pace of the adventure. So let's roll shadow to delve the depths. Here we go. I think we might actually be able to do a delve the depths roll here. Okay. Yep, so we'll do shadow. Stealth or trickery. Rolling with observation, intuition, and expertise would be good too. I think I'll actually do that because we haven't found any monsters yet. We're not actually sneaking ahead. So let's do that. Mark progress or find an opportunity. Okay, well, I'm happy to mark progress first. What just happened? Why did I... Oh, because I'm on the wrong character. Okay, so we're marking progress here on our dungeon. Only a single mark. It's going to take a long time. So let's find an opportunity on this. Where is our delve? Let's find an opportunity. So when you encounter a helpful situation or feature within a site, roll on the following table. If you're making this move as a result of a strong hit, I don't think we got that. You may pick or envision an opportunity instead of rolling, and then choose one. So either we get +1 momentum, or our next move is +1 and we get +1 on a hit. So I think I'm going to go with that. Let's see what our opportunity is. Ample provides an opportunity to scavenge, forage, or hunt. I don't think we need to do any scavenging or foraging, but maybe that means we found a treasure, or there's a treasure possibility here. So let's see. Okay, so scavenge would be the one to do that, but first let's roll up a feature. See what we find here. All right. We're in a hall or chamber. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking at. Hall or chamber. Okay. Hold on a second. Sorry. Okay. So we extend into another stretch of hallway. But for some reason it's worth searching. Maybe it's a longer hallway than that. Oops. Excuse me. Let's erase that guy. Okay, so for our hall or chamber, let's roll on our actual dungeon generation table. Okay, I just rolled up in my Ruins of the Undercity a 20 by 30 rectangular chamber with no exit. So we can actually remove this part that I had extended. Oop. All right, and we have a 20 by 30 chamber. So chamber means that it opens directly into the corridor with no door. And this is our second room here. And so let's roll up a description. So we roll these on a D100. So let's roll. We just use our D100 here. 59. So 59 description is frescoes of the ancient civilization. Oh, that sounds intriguing. Okay, so we'll go to our image layer, add some text. This is room 2. We'll put this here. Okay, so there we go, room 2. Okay, so, and it has frescoes of an ancient civilization, and I'm not sure what these frescoes look like, so let's find out what they show. So we'll roll up here. Preserve opportunity. Okay, so since our opportunity is something about treasure, let's say that these frescoes are all showing the sultans who used to live in the City of Spires. I mean, they still live in the City of Spires, but even though we're only down on the first floor already, you can tell from the frescoes that the style of dress and the culture were different. But so it shows the sultans of old, and they are escorting home a great carriage full of caravans full of treasure. And I don't know if this is war loot or if this is something that they found from another dungeon or beat monsters for or something like that. It's not clear, but it's clear that this is a very wealthy civilization and they're bringing home some treasure. And I think it's going to kind of hint that it might be, this room might be something worth searching. So in order to do that, I think we need to search, and I'm not sure how to do it. Are we going to be securing an advantage or gathering information? I think gathering information might be oh, yep, there you go, search an area. Okay, so Cormac's going to search. He's got the highest wits roll. And let's roll, Weak hit. So I'm going to say we found something, but it's possibly trapped. So we take our momentum, and then what do we find? Like, we find some kind of treasure chest. So, oh, and I'm sorry, he gets an extra +1 momentum because of the success of our last roll, the fact that we found the opportunity. So he gets +1 extra momentum there. Okay, so we've got 2 momentum, and we just found a chest, but it's trapped. So I think to open a trap, we probably need to face danger. But I'm not quite sure what kind of trap this is, so let's see if we can get a clue here. Trap. Imitate poison. So it's imitating a poison. Maybe the two of them are searching through these frescoes, and then Cormac touches something on the wall, you know, a spot where a particularly interesting swirl of mosaic is on the wall, and he touches it and it slides away. And instead of being like a poison dart that comes out or something, there's a undead skeleton in there. Or maybe a dead skeleton, but its stinger is still prepped, and as he opens it, it snaps forward with this, you know, venom dripping scorpion tail. And so I think that's definitely a test edge to avoid it. So we're going to face danger with edge. Strong hit. Nice. Okay. So I believe on a strong hit, we just get +1 momentum. Nice. Okay. So he lunges back. This scorpion stinger strikes against the stone and it chips off, and the scorpion kind of falls out. It was clear that these scorpions were kind of propped there to drop their venom on anyone who opened the cupboard. And so now that that trap's gone, they pull the chest out, and it's not really a chest, maybe more of like a coffer. We're talking like a very small box, like the size that you could fit in your hand. And they open it up, and inside is definitely some treasure. Let's roll on our mythic table to see what that looks like. We're going to roll 2d100 and see. Get descriptors. Wildly, 99 is wildly, and 14 is cute. Wildly cute. Okay, let's say it's a music box. So they open it up thinking that there's going to be some kind of gold inside or something, but instead they open it and they find a porcelain ballerina, or whatever the Sultanate version of a ballerina is. You know, some kind of like belly dancing thing, or some kind of veiled dancer. And they open it up, and this clockwork starts to tick. You know, it's still good even after all of these years. And music starts to play, and the ballerina dances, and so he snaps it shut right away. He doesn't want that music playing. But this definitely counts as some kind of treasure. I don't think it's worth enough to call our mission quits, but it's certainly enough to get us a tag on our progress. So the knight's got that, and I am going to mark progress. Nice. Okay. And so now there's no other exits from this room, but we can check it again later if we need to. If we end up revealing all of the other entrances and there's nothing going, we can come back here and check for secret doors. All right, we are bumping up on 33 minutes on this video, 36 minutes. So I think it's time to wrap things up. But so I'm going to leave Pembra and Cormac here in this fresco room with, the first of their treasures, and they are ready to delve deeper. And they've got 2 doors and another tunnel to explore. And I just want to take this time to thank you guys for joining me. This is an experiment for me too. I've never played Ironsworn this way. I've played a fair amount of Ruins of the Undercity, but always using the Mythic GM emulator and Labyrinth Lord or Lamentations of the Flame Princess rules. So this is kind of a fun new experience. Ironsworn is really rules light, but it generates a lot of story, which is fun for solo role-playing. Whereas Ruins of the Undercity generates some of the best single-player dungeon exploration that I've got. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope you guys are too. Please take a second to subscribe to the channel and thumbs up this video and hit the bell button to be notified for the next one if you're interested. And I will see you all next time.